Now, the Liberal Democrats are gathering in Brighton after one of the most dramatic falls in fortune in recent political history. The old jibe was you could get the entire Liberal Democratic Party into a phone box. But, of course, there's hardly any phone boxes left. Tim Farron is leader of the party. Now, Tim Farron, I wanted to start by reminding ourselves of how people describe themselves in this country. When they're asked, are you on the extreme left or the hard left or the hard right or left or right or the middle, this is how it breaks down. And what you see is the vast majority of people, the 45% there, say that they are moderates, they're in the middle. They are your target people. And yet your party is below 8% in the polls. There is a massive mismatch between people saying, I am a liberal of whatever kind. They like the word liberal, but they don't like your party. How do you begin to break out?
Well, look, I think the theme of the discussion this morning about whether liberalism is under threat or not, I think your poll there shows that whilst there's massive challenges, it is in good health. And for our part, what we're up against, I think, is a rising populism. That is the new dichotomy in politics, populism, nationalism versus liberalism. And you see particularly the Labour Party choosing to go off down a populist, I would say utterly unelectable route. A Conservative government that feels utterly unaccountable is unaccountable because of a poor opposition. And the space there, as your poll shows, is vast. Now, are we in the position?
Why aren't you doing better?
I would argue that we're in a very, very good place at the moment. The election, obviously, last May was devastating for us. But you look what's happened since. Two things have happened since.
8 MPs and 7% is not a very good place.
Andrew, I can't affect what's happened in elections gone past, but two massive things have happened in this country over the last year, over the last few months in some cases. One is that Britain now looks to be heading out of the European Union. I would say that's disastrous for our country, disastrous for our society, bad for liberalism. The other is the Labour Party's choice to go down a route which is fantasy populist politics, and the gap there for a Liberal Party with a clear plan for how Britain should operate in the world now is vast. Now, our membership has almost doubled since the election. As you've seen, another chart you could show is the massive amount of gains Liberal Democrats are making in local government over the last few months. But that opportunity for us is enormous, and if Labour won't oppose the Conservative government, we will.
Let's look forward then. 2 or 3 things are going to make big changes to our politics, one way or another. Jeremy Corbyn will probably be re-elected as Labour leader at the end of the coming week, or if he's not, it'll be Owen Smith. If it's Owen Smith, you have somebody who on this programme has said he wants to fight the next election by saying that if Labour win or are in a position to exercise power in some way, he wants us to reapply to the EU. Would you join him in that ambition?
Well, I'm interested in some of the things that Owen Smith has said. I have to say that might be too late. If the next election is 2020, we'd have left the European Union.
Yes, you'd have to reapply.
So my sense is what we need to be focusing upon is that we trusted the British people on departure in the referendum last June. We should now trust them with destination. The deal that will be settled for the future of the United Kingdom's relationship with Europe, the single market, free movement and everything else is utterly unclear. You don't know what it is. I don't know. The British people don't know. I doubt even Theresa May knows. There needs to be a referendum on that deal. That is the best option for us staying in. It's also the best option of the whole of our society, gathering around whatever we do next.
But you can't make that happen. That will be in Theresa May's gift to have that referendum or not.
And if public opinion changes, if people see the deal unravelling and it not being what they voted for, then Theresa May is a pragmatic enough person.
She'd blow the Conservative Party to pieces.
She's a pragmatic enough person to understand that if the population of this country believe the deal that she is stitching up with Brussels is something that they do not think that they voted for, I think she will shift. But Owen Smith seems to me as a reasonable, moderate guy, and if he's prepared to, and I think there's every chance that we could. The problem with Jeremy Corbyn is I don't think he'll work with anybody else like he didn't in the referendum. That makes it very hard.
But if Jeremy Corbyn, as we assume is going to happen, we may be wrong, but if he does win and wins big, then there'll be a lot of Labour MPs who are very unhappy. Now, you've said in the past that they've been on the phone to you as some kind of therapy, as it were. None of them came over. Do you think this time it'll be different?
Well, my job is not to be a home wrecker in the Labour Party. I genuinely think what's happening to the Labour Party is a tragedy for British democracy. I think even Conservative voters out there think it is terrible that there is no decent, proper opposition in this country. So my job is to build the Liberal Democrats, make it very clear that we are the positive, progressive, moderate opposition to the Tories, and hope that people come and join us, and there's every sign that that is going to happen.
But a lot of voters, for whatever reason, don't like your tribe, your political tribe. How untribal are you prepared to be to change politics? I mean, Nick Clegg is saying today that if there is some kind of panic Brexit, he thinks there'll be a big fight and an early Brexit. He thinks At that point, particularly if investors start taking fright and it starts dawning on people that, as you've said, the government does not have a roadmap, I think the public appetite for other parties will grow. It doesn't need to be a new amalgam party, a new alliance, but it could be. If gridlock were to lead to a real sense of drift and malaise, it could be a government of national unity of some description where parties of different persuasions say they're going to act together in a pro-European cause. And Paddy Ashdown, another former leader, has said that in the coming Witney by-election, why not just have one, as it were, pro-European Union, anti-Conservative candidate? Are you the kind of politician that would actually put to one side the Liberal Democrats' narrow party interests to work with Labour Party people? And possibly George Osborne is now saying that he is carrying the banner for liberalism.
Apparently he is now a Liberal.
He's now a Liberal. Would you work with people like that?
My sense is, I mean, certainly the referendum was an experience for many of us that we enjoyed. It was about spending time working with people who were in different parties with whom you had lots more in common than just the fact we believe Britain should remain in the European Union. But my assessment of the situation is this. The Conservative government may be in power for another quarter of a century because of what's happened and what is going on in the Labour Party at the moment. And Britain will sleepwalk out of the European Union to immense calamity to our economy, to equality. And so my job, the best thing that I can do, whilst being somebody who's open to discussing with other people...
This is democracy.
Indeed, but I'm allowed to keep my principles and to believe that it's what I believed on the 23rd of June, I still believe. But my job is to build a progressive movement that can challenge the Conservative Party. My view is that Britain will sleepwalk out of Europe unless the Liberal Democrats can grow and build a support for us to have that referendum on the deal, which we must have, and that we will have a Tory government for, you know, maybe the rest of many of our lifetimes, as Neil Kinnock suggests, unless the Liberal Democrats can step up and fill the space that the Labour Party has now deserted. And that is a big project. It's a massive duty, and I'm prepared to do it.
If I may say so, that requires you doing politics differently and in an unconventional way.
Or it might,
what I'm asking directly is whether you would allow Liberal Democrats to stand down in some seats to allow other non-Conservatives to have a free run, or will all these non-Conservative parties, like the old days, fight each other under a first-past-the-post system and be machine-gunned down?
Well, I think the danger in all of this, that it's all kind of political parlour room discussions about coalitions and pacts and all the rest of it. I don't think most people out there... Really. I don't think most people out there are interested in that. What they want is a clear voice that will hold the Conservative government to account. I mean, there are Tory voters out there who think it is absolutely dreadful for British democracy that there is no decent, moderate, progressive opposition to the Conservatives. And that space is vast. As you say, 45% of people out there potentially able and willing to vote for us. My job is to fill that space, and I am determined to do that.
I still don't understand quite how you're going to crack that problem, but you're going to come back in a moment after the news. We'll talk about that in just a second.
I'll do it then.